Hi everybody, I thought I'd do something a little bit different on James's Vlogs Home and Beyond today. Now this is something I'm going to be doing every New Year as New Year's Eve is approaching, is where I talk about my personal thoughts as I reflect throughout the whole year, starting from the very beginning. Now as we all know, 2020 has been the biggest challenge for us all, not just for this country, but for the whole world as well, especially for the NHS. Now they've been working endlessly 24/7 day and night to make sure that we're all safe and well during these uncertain times. So this is actually going to be a special dedication for all the people working for the NHS, doctors, nurses and carers who've been pulling out all the stops to make sure that we fought the virus. So thank you to everyone for all of your endless dedication and hard work throughout the whole year. Thank you very much. So when we're ready, it's time to roll the titles. So 2020 started off just like any other year for all of us. With me being in the performing arts industry, I've been going to auditions, been watching performances at the theatres, especially those down in London. But it wasn't until about March that was where the whole world suddenly turned upside down, as the coronavirus had arrived in the UK. And during the first lockdown, I didn't even get to do much. I'd just been spending my whole time in bed. I didn't even want to get out of it. I just wanted to spend most of my days in there, just lie there, feel sorry for myself. I hardly had the motivation to get myself out of there and just go out on walks for a certain amount of time. It was proving very, very difficult. Now, I know a lot of followers might know already on my Instagram that I have autism or autistic spectrum disorder, and for me, this pandemic has brought on a lot of challenges, not just physically, but mentally as well. But it wasn't until about later on, when things started to ease up, that I started to consider taking up cycling again, as the limited amount of exercise has suddenly started to be cut out, and I'd be able to exercise for as long as I like. So I went out on my new Brompton that I recently had last Christmas, and I took it out for about 8 miles to start with. And then over time I would start taking on another challenge and see how many miles I can go on it. And that's where I started going from 8 to 10 miles. And that 10 miles would go on to 20 miles. And that 20 miles would start going on to 30. And all of that is just from one place, and then to a certain place, and then head back. And of course, I've also been cycling to Lichfield and back several times. And my most recent cycling record was when I was working just away from my hometown in Surrey. I was actually staying in Surrey at the time when I was working during the first weeks of December. That I actually decided to cycle all the way down to London for the first time. And there are times I also been taking on the London roads as well as the cycle paths. And the record I managed to get when I was doing that was 37 miles, which all of that was just all the way up until London Waterloo Station. So as we all know, the theatre industry throughout the UK has been going through a very rough patch. A lot of theatres closing all over the UK. A lot of performing artists, including myself, backstage crew, front of house, everyone, they've all lost their jobs as well. And I know that I feel their pain, as recently I've just lost my performing job when London, along with Surrey, ended up going into Tier 4. So I had to move back to my parents' house. And a lot of pantos pretty much throughout the country have also been end up being cancelling as well, due to the majority of the theatres going into Tiers 4 and 3. So my heart goes out to all the panto performers affected by the tier system, especially those that I know already and have known for a very long time. Well, hopefully next year, if I get the opportunity again, then I'm sure things will hopefully be a little bit more easier, as I'm sure all of us will hope as well. And also during the pretty much the early summer months or pre-summer months, I've also started to pick up on old hobbies I hadn't done for ages. Some I hadn't been able to do since completing my GCSE in art at secondary school, where I started to do some pencil sketches again. So I'm sure you might have seen in one of my previous vlogs where I've actually been doing some sketches for my father for Father's Day. I even made him his very own self-portrait, and also I've been doing some portraits for my sister as well. So for me, as I didn't even have a job at the time, it was really hard for me to find out what to find for Mother's Day, birthdays. And with no pun intended, that's where all my artwork suddenly decided to come back into the frame. And it was also during the summer months that I've also done PE with Joe Wicks, starting from the beginning all the way up to the end. And by the time I got up to the end, I thought I'd start off at the beginning again, just to keep myself motivated. But it wasn't until about December, well actually from November, some parts of November to December, that I hadn't actually been doing much exercise ever since, apart from that cycle ride all the way up to London. So probably by the time when things have started to get a little bit more easier, I'll probably see if I can try and get back into it, and even take on the Couch to 5K, which I've heard a lot of people have been trying out during the pandemic to keep themselves motivated, so I'll definitely have a go at that. So all in all, 2020 for me, especially being on the autistic spectrum, it proved a lot more challenges for me. Not just physically, but also mentally as well. As I'm sure a lot of people will agree, that it was very tough times to cope and to try to keep their positivity up. And during that time, we have lost a lot of lives, friends, family, key workers, everyone. And so, with a hand on my heart goes out to all the friends and family who had lost their loved ones to this terrible pandemic. But now, with the Covid-19 vaccine that's finally rolling out into the country, once we've all been vaccinated with it, I'm sure we'll all agree that once we've all been vaccinated, that things will start to slowly grow back to normality. It may be a long journey and maybe a slow process, but we will get there. And so that brings me to the end of my very first thoughts and reflections video for 2020. It has been a big challenge for all of us, but we will get there. And once again, I would like to thank all the NHS workers for pulling out all the stops and going the extra mile to make sure that we're all safe, healthy and strong throughout this pandemic, battling the virus. So thank you for all of your hard work, dedication throughout the year. Keep fighting. We will get there. So this is James Rowney signing out for the year. And hopefully 2021 will be the year where we have hope, positivity and light at the end of the tunnel. So until then, see you next time.